Okay, so first of all, before we talk about anything else, this chapter was an absolute blast from a Zoro and Kaido perspective. Both had incredibly badass moments here, and the last page has now opened up so many new possibilities, while also raising a ton of questions. And we'll of course be discussing the implications of floating Onigashima in detail. But that being said, I want to use this chapter to talk a little bit about the eternal Zoro-Sanji dick measuring contest that seems to be getting worse and worse in parts of the fandom. And I think since we're 3 chapters away now from chapter 1000, it's about time to discuss in a bit more depth what role both characters actually play in the story. Also, a quick note on last week's chapter. In my review I said that Law found a road poneglyph, and while even on a reread I think that the official took a lot of liberties with its translation, I'm gonna assume that they had the chance to double check on the ambiguity of this scene. So unless this turns out to be a misinterpretation on their end, I sincerely apologize for my mistake. But for now, grab yourself a hot cup of coffee, lean back, and let's talk about One Piece chapter 997. The reason that this chapter, in my opinion at least, is the perfect fit to talk about the Zoro-Sanji thing is that it's heavily centered around the two. Luckily, I got at least one thing right last week when I said that the speech pattern at the end was most likely related to Black Maria. Now, what I didn't expect, however, is that it would be a setup to lure righteous people into a trap. And by the way, even without the spider webs we see in this chapter, that fact alone would already be enough to establish that we're most likely dealing with a spider zone here. Luring your enemies into your den. Classical spider trope that already gives us some more insights into Black Maria's character. Now, while I personally would actually prefer it if she were to form a real relationship with Sanji, as he did for example with Viola and Dressrosa, I think we have to strongly consider the fact that Black Maria might actually be quite cruel and cunning, and is simply playing the cute girl card to fool those around her. What do you guys think about that? But whatever the situation between Black Maria and Sanji will turn out to be, I think that they are a very interesting matchup, because I find Black Maria's character quite intriguing. Plus, the underworld theme of her subordinates is really interesting as well. Her character might actually be inspired by Izanami, one of the 2 gods of creation from Japanese Shinto religion that dwells in the underworld. Next, we get a small scene with Luffy and Jinbei, who both don't seem all too irritated by Sanji's sudden disappearance. I'm not sure if you already noticed, but something I finally realized this chapter is that Oda has been playing a little running gag on us throughout Onigashima, where in almost every single chapter he dedicated one big and imposing panel to the introduction of some new gifters that are, by the way, growing more and more grotesque in their appearance. And every single time, they're either taken out the next second, or as happened in this chapter, they're completely ignored by Luffy and Jinbei. Now that's just my sort of humor. I love it, and I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out for that from now on. The next part of the chapter is almost completely dedicated to Zoro. When the island starts rummaging, Zoro sees Kiku's severed arm falling down the hole through which Kaido breached to reach the top of the dome. This seems to seriously trigger Zoro, as he finally starts taking the battle more seriously, seeing that his allies are taking serious damage while Queen is playing his little game. He actually slices one of the ice onis and faces towards Queen in a poo. To be completely honest, I think that this was actually kind of overdue, cause Zoro himself has told Luffy over and over again that they need to take this more seriously, but he himself has clearly not done so until right now. And so, while Apu is distracted by Drake, Zoro cuts him down with a single Shishi Sansan, takes the vaccine, and throws it to Chopper, who by the way, also deserves a lot of credit in this chapter. Whilst being infected himself and in the midst of a pretty chaotic battle, he has already figured out how Queen's weapons work and tells everyone, including the infected beast pirates by the way, to warm up their body using fire to stop the spread of the virus, while he himself prepares the antidote. Great moment of leadership from Chopper, I think, but I still low-key hope that he's gonna keep those ice powers. Now, fittingly, Marco also arrives at the scene, who we already figured to be the perfect candidate for this job with his healing flames. However, him once again asking if there's anything he can help with kinda reminded me of this scene here.
What is my purpose?
You die for the Straw Hats.
Oh my god.
And random note on the side, it would be pretty cool to see Zoro flying on Marco. Just saying. Now, while Queen tries to aim for Chopper to continue his game, Zoro cuts his gun with a quick and badass long-range attack, telling him that he has enough. Also, Queen's shocked face is something that I think I'll never get enough from. At Zoro's words, suddenly the ground starts to shake, and in an absolutely hilarious moment, Brook wonders if that is Zoro using Conqueror's Haki. Now don't get me wrong here, I absolutely can see Zoro having Conqueror's Haki, but this is 100% Oda making fun of his fanbase. Brook literally reminds me of the fans looking for any excuse to interpret it as Zoro using Haki. Just a really great troll moment from Oda, and who knows, there might even be some foreshadowing in there. Finally, Yamato, who's trying to escape Onigashima with Momo and Shinobu, reveals to us what is happening. Kaido is using a combination of his cloud and fire abilities to make the entire island float. And so the last panel is just absolute fire, with the island levitating over the sea, carried by flames. When Kaido said he wanted to move Onigashima to the capital, I was pretty impressed that he would have such political plans. But as it turns out, just as Luffy, Kaido is a pretty forward guy. He literally is moving Onigashima to the flower capital. Touché, Oda. Now, there are a bunch of things that I have to say about this. First of all, what a damn awesome power. Once again, this makes you wonder if Kaido isn't really a dragon after all. And if it truly is a devil fruit power, how damn overpowered is this thing? Second, it must really suck to be Tama right now. She probably had the adventure of her lifetime to somehow make it to the islands, only to have Kaido bring it right back to the mainland 2 minutes later. Then of course we have all the implications that this has. Kaido having the time to move the island strongly suggests to me that the Scabbards have already been defeated. Chapter 999 and 1000 might after all be Luffy reaching the top and starting the battle. But moving Onigashima to the mainland opens up some other possibilities as well. Suddenly, just as with the birdcage on Dressrosa or the Noah on Fishman Islands, we now have a cataclysmic phenomenon that is threatening to take innocent lives by crashing into the flower capital. Because to be honest, I kinda doubt that Kaido is just gonna take it and gently place it down next doors. This way, one of the Straw Hats will have the chance to prove themselves and smash an entire island to pieces. However, this also opens up the chance for Luffy and the others to defeat Kaido in front of every Wano citizen to witness and gain their full trust and loyalty, something that I think will be really important going forward. Plus, it also opens the door for other characters to join the battle. I'm thinking Hiyori, Tenguyama, and the Big Mom Pirates that now don't have to make it all the way to Onigashima. In other words, I think that Onigashima floating towards the flower capital will not only give us the transition from Act 2 to Act 4, but also be the real start of the battle against Kaido and his army. I think it's an absolutely fantastic story beat, and I can't wait to see how things turn out from here. And now, if you should be interested in my thoughts on the entire Zoro-Sanji debate, I will link that video right here once it's done. Thanks guys, peace.